Well, good Sunday evening to you. I'm meteorologist Robb Ellis. I want to give you a little bit of an update on some of the snow that moved through earlier, some of the traffic concerns that we're having, and also what you can expect for Monday morning. Because to be honest, I think the biggest impact of this entire system is going to be Monday morning. So here's what we're looking at right now. First of all, you see a lot of the counties start to light up here. That's a new winter weather advisory that was just issued a few moments ago by the National Weather Service, and I'll get into that in just a moment. But what you see on radar, a couple of things to notice here. One, the big batch of snow that came through earlier and left that coating on everything that you have out there right now, mainly the grassy surfaces, but also some of the vehicles. You may have to brush the snow off your car if it's not under the garage for tomorrow. That is now all moving to the east, but notice a couple of things that are happening. A little bit of redevelopment here. And when we talk about these quick bursts of snow, this is what we're looking at. Not everyone is seeing it, but in those locations like Bloomington, let's say, where the snow is coming down, it may be coming down heavily at times, and that may be just enough to cause some problems. The other issue is that the temperatures are dropping. Do want to take a bit of a wider view to start here, and the reason why is because this is the next impulse that's going to drift all the way across the entire state and likely bring us snow showers for tomorrow morning. Right around sunrise, right during the morning commute, as temperatures continue to drop likely into the 20s by morning. The ground temperatures are dropping, but it's those elevated surfaces that are going to be the biggest concern when this moves through. And yes, we will likely pick up some additional accumulation even in Indy. Otherwise, the rest of the system's trying to move east, and there's not a whole lot behind that system. So once we get this out of here sometime by middle of the morning tomorrow, I think we're done with this system. We're wrapping it up, and then we can start to warm things back up. A little bit closer in, you can see there are some heavier areas of snow here. It's also going to pick up a little bit of moisture off of the lake. I'd call this more lake enhancement than lake effect snow because the system itself is not driven by the lake, but it's certainly enhanced by some of the moisture of the relatively warm lake temperatures that are happening right now. So winter weather advisory has now been issued, essentially includes the entire metro and all points to the west, including Terre Haute. Also to the north, Kokomo, Lafayette, and points west from there. Does not include Muncie, does not include Richmond, Columbus, Bedford, or Bloomington. But you still have the possibility of seeing some accumulating snow, although the amounts are certainly going to be much lighter than what we're expecting to move through by tomorrow morning. Very quickly, just wanted to mention a couple of things here. Temperatures now dropping and continuing to drop into the 20s. I expect that everyone will be into the 20s by about midnight, and then overnight into the morning, probably mid-20s by the time the sun comes up tomorrow. A couple locations still reporting some snow, but otherwise mostly cloudy skies, and you can see it looks much better in downtown Indianapolis than what it was earlier. When we were using this camera around 5 or 6 o'clock today, you couldn't see anything on that camera because of the snow that was coming down. Here's the other concern. It is windy outside. This is what has been moving that colder air into place, but with winds gusting at times as high as 30 miles per hour, it's making it feel so much colder. So the wind chill will be a concern as well. Temperatures are currently more 20s than 30s right now, and I said that that would be the case, and we're going to see more of these 30s drop off of the board here. I mentioned that the winds have been strong throughout the evening and all day. This is making it feel like it's in the teens right now. This is the current wind chill as of 9:04 this evening. Temperatures are going to continue to drop, so the wind chills are going to continue to drop. And I expect these wind chills by early morning tomorrow, right as the sun comes up, will probably be right around 10 degrees and probably won't improve very much out of the 20s even by the afternoon, even though the air temperatures are expected to get into the 30s. So let me show you future track. First of all, talk about what's going to happen. Here's that next batch that's going to arrive sometime after midnight for most of you, and it will really just sink across the entire state. Unfortunately, look at the timing here. This is going to be falling around 6 to 7 o'clock and moving across an area that has already cooled down quite a bit overnight and will continue dropping. Air temperatures will be into the mid-20s. Now, ground temperatures have been relatively mild. Keep in mind it was in the 70s, 60s to near 70 for this past week. But the ground temperatures have dropped quite a bit. They have really cooled down. And so a lot of them, especially bridges and overpasses, even at this hour, we're seeing some big concerns, and there's not the volume that we would have for a Monday morning. I'll show you some of those traffic cameras in just a moment. Let me talk snowfall potential here. Again, this is potential. This was a little bit more of a concern earlier in the day when we knew the temperatures were above freezing, but keep in mind the ground temperatures are going to melt into some of this. So while you see 2 to 4 here in a couple of spots and maybe 1 to 2, this is just one particular model output. These come out about every couple of hours or so. I've seen this number bounce around from 1 to 2 to 2 to 4. It will continue to do that. Just get the overall idea. Everyone will see a little bit of something. The ground itself will melt some of this as it falls, even though the air temperatures are well below freezing. So what I'm expecting is around an inch with maybe up to 2 inches farther to the north. I'd maybe adjust this map slightly to the west just because of the new data that we've had come in. And when I'm saying around an inch, remember I showed you at the start of this, that bursty snow. Some areas we're seeing some heavy snow while just a couple of miles away it was almost nothing. There's going to be a lot of that. Pockets of these bursty snow showers that mean that some of you could pick up a quick, fluffy 2 to 3 inches of snow, and some of you could pick up almost nothing. So I'm saying around an inch. There's about an inch variance on either side of that. Some of you will get nothing, some of you will get 2, maybe 2.5 inches of snow, even in the metro. Farther to the north, those numbers will go up, and of course they're going to go up the closer you are to Lake Michigan, where a little bit of that lake enhancement or even lake effect once we get into tomorrow afternoon could become more prevalent as we start to see a little bit of a plume come off of the lake. Wind chills are going to be a concern. So this is this evening. Temperatures are already down into the 20s. The wind chills are already down into the teens and probably going to continue dropping, likely to around 10 degrees or so by early morning. I actually think the wind chills are going to be colder than what this particular model is calling for. I'd probably put it in more this range. Maybe 10 to 15 degrees. And then even though the temperatures are expected to warm up a bit into the 30s for tomorrow afternoon, the wind chills will stay into the 20s. It's going to be breezy all through the day tomorrow, and that's why we're expecting that fetch right off of the lake. Probably an almost due northwest wind, which means that places like Muncie up to Marion will be right under that plume of lake effect snow. Not as much as what they're going to see into the northern parts of Indiana, but there may be enough that it's able to carry it downstream quite that far. Won't be a lot, but you may see a little bit of increase as far as some of your snowfall totals. So we've got you under alert for Monday. Here's the reason why. Through Monday morning, especially during the commute, this is the worst timing possible. It's also our first snowfall of the season. Roads likely haven't been treated all over as if this were late winter where we've got a good layer of salt down. Many of the bridges and overpasses are already starting to see some problems, and it's those heavier bursts that are really going to cause the big concern. Not something we can forecast an exact street-by-street forecast this far out, even 6 hours out. We just know that it is going to be that way for tomorrow. Slick roads, there are probably going to be some school delays. Keep that in mind. Be prepared. Allow a little bit of extra time for the morning commute. And just know that you're going to have those wind chills out there. It's pretty brutal even at this hour, and it's going to be much colder by tomorrow morning. So 7-day forecast here. Monday, this is going to be the worst day. It's why we have you under alert, but it should improve. Now, Tuesday, temperatures into the 20s for your early morning start. Still going to be wind chills, probably into the teens, maybe even near 10 degrees. And then each and every day after that, it gets a little bit warmer. Friday's looking beautiful. The weekend could be approaching 70 degrees, if you can believe that. I'm talking snow right now, and snow is falling, but we could be looking at 70 degrees by the weekend. Couple of things I want to update you on. I'm going to step out of the way. Let me start with this camera. Now, this is Interstate 65, right at 865. If you know this, if you're heading southbound, if you know this area where you're leaving, say, Whitestown, and there's that exit for 865, so you can go eastbound towards the north side of the city, there's that big overpass that goes right over 65. You have to circle around a bit. That is now shut down because of the icing concerns. They had a couple of slide-offs, and that turned eventually into an accident. That is now shut down. I'll show it to you on a map here in just a moment. Colin, if you're able to switch to the other NDOT camera, if you're able to pull that up manually for me, thank you so much. This is 465 at North Meridian, so US 31. They also have this overpass shut down, and the reason why is you can see a couple of folks standing on the overpass and several cars that are stopped. See how it's elevated? When we talk about bridges and overpasses freezing first, air can get right underneath that. The ground temperatures and the street temperatures, they're feeding off of that warm heat of the ground that takes a lot longer to cool down. But those bridges and overpasses, they can freeze much sooner, and that's exactly what's happened. They've gotten this coating of snow and rain from earlier in the last 24 hours, and it has frozen solid, and they're really going to have a difficult time getting traffic to continue with that. Again, the area that we're looking at there, if you're just kind of joining us and you want to figure that out, you're looking at US 31 right at North Meridian. We have a slowdown, an issue there with that ramp being shut down. Let me go to the traffic map just to show you a couple of things here. And thank you, Colin, for putting that up for us. I appreciate that. Here's the concerns. First of all, I said 65 southbound. So when you talk about getting on to 865, this is the area that we're usually looking at. 865 headed eastbound. This is all shut down. There's no other exits here to get onto 865 until you get to 465. So this whole area, there's just no way to get onto that interstate. You're going to have to find another way around, maybe take Whitestown Road or go down a little bit further if you have to, maybe down to what would be the next exit, Whitestown or 71st Street, I believe would be the next exit. We had an issue here on 65 northbound that was shut down for a while. That appears to have been a little bit better. It appears to be clear at this hour, but that was a concern. And we had another concern on 65 also, maybe near the Lafayette Road and 38th Street exit. Let me take you a little farther to the north because the issue we had earlier was right here at 465 and US 31, and you can see that it's more the north side of the city where the colder air and the snow came in a little bit sooner. So this was our big concern. I suspect, check in with Sunrise in the morning at 4 a.m. They're going to have a lot more accidents in this. They're going to have a lot of concerns tomorrow, especially if DOT is trying to get those roads salted because we're going to have a lot of snow falling and temperatures are going to be right at that optimum 20 to 25 degrees. This is going to be a big concern for tomorrow morning, although this first batch should give us a little bit of a break over the next few hours. Just to reiterate, if you missed this map a little bit earlier, maybe you're just tuning in, around an inch for Indy. I'm giving you about an inch window on either side of that. So maybe nothing, what's already fallen, maybe nothing additional in that bursty snow that may come down tomorrow. 2 miles down the road, they may get 2.5 inches. At your house, you may only get 1/2 inch. And officially at the airport so far, we received 1/2 inch of snow for today. So that's what we're expecting. Those numbers go up with a little bit of lake effect the farther north you go. Final thing I'll leave you with is this map. Keep it tuned right here. We do have a football game on WTHR right now, but as soon as that football game is over, we will bring you the latest news and weather and sports coverage of the day and the weekend. Of course, you can always keep it tuned right here to WTHR+.